Hi everyone, it's Laura. Welcome back. We're doing something super different today. I promised you guys that eventually I would take you through the process of how I make my yarn wigs, and that's what we're gonna do today. So I'm really excited to share this with you guys. I don't want to overpromise and say like after you watch these videos you guys are gonna be able to make your own yarn wig. I do have like a lot of stuff in my process that might not be so easy to come across or to just put together in a matter of a few weeks. So I'm not over promising, but I am sharing how I make my yarn wigs. And I do want to emphasize this is just how I do it. This is just my process that I've come up with over the past 10 years. And then maybe we'll do a Q&A depending on if people have questions, I guess. If you don't know, I have been selling on Etsy for about 13 years, I think. So pretty long time. And I've been selling yarn wigs pretty much that whole time. I just have evolved quite a bit since I began. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Let's just get started and jump into the first step in my yarn wig making process. Let's go. Okay, so I am prefacing again. This is just how I have developed my system. You are perfectly welcome to do exactly what I do and just copy it, or come up with your own way of doing it. But this is step one. I would consider this step one of the wigs. So here we go. So this is a cake turner. Yeah. They can be fairly cheap, but for my purposes, I need more of like a heavy duty one because I'm going to be putting an upside down coffee table on this. A very lightweight one, but still, it's a lot heavier than a cake. So you would, if you're going to follow my process, you would need to acquire a cake turner. One of these guys. Probably somewhere between like $10 and $25, depending on what size you get or whatever. And obviously we do not use this for food at all, just for wig making. And this is the coffee table that I am going to be using to spin my yarn. This is something that I pretty much just use for crafting. So it's like our crafting coffee table, and then it just gets put away. The dimensions of the table just happen to add up to right about 100 inches, which just happens to be like the perfect length that I like to start with for my yarn. It's actually kind of would be half of that, but you'll see as the process goes on what I mean by that. So let's go on to the next step. Okay, so I'm going to take my coffee table and flip it upside down and put it right on top of my cake turner. Now, sometimes if you don't have enough like friction between them, the table might slide when you turn it. And in order to prevent that, you could just use like some duct tape or something, just a piece of tape here that you would take off afterwards. But that is how you're gonna set up your table. Okay, now since we are making a Te Fiti wig, and I'm going to make kind of a larger size, I'm going to use actually 4 skeins of yarn for this wig. So this is our color. This is called Spring Green from Red Heart Yarn. You're going to take your yarn skein and you're going to find which end has the string sticking out, because that's the easiest way to do it. Sometimes neither end is sticking out, and that's disappointing because then you either have to go digging for it or plan B it. But this is the easiest way to do it. So I take the end with the yarn sticking out and I put it on top. I'm just going to do this for all 3. I'm just going to stick them in this bag here because they don't have like a, I think they make things to like hold your skein of yarn when you're knitting or whatever. I don't have one of those things. So I'm going to do 3 skeins. So now I have these 3 sticking out. They're giving a little bit of tension, which is good. And now I am going to tie them onto my table. So all I'm doing is taking my 3 strings and tying them on. Obviously you could do 1 skein at a time. You'll get less stoppage, less stopping for tangles and stuff. But I just, for efficiency, I like to do multiple at a time. So now it's on here and we're gonna start spinning. All right, let's get it started. I like to go this way. And I usually like to pick one leg to kind of push, and you don't want to push it, you really just want to guide it. It's going to start off slow, and then it will go faster as you get less tension from the skeins. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the skein here. So now we're just gonna cut it, pull it off of here, and then hang it. So I use a coat rack to hang the yarn because that's just the easiest way to do it. We got a bunch of different colors. But this is just the easiest thing that I found, and this guy is my favorite because he does double duty for me in the summer. He works outside, and then in the fall he gets a quick scrub and comes inside and serves me all September and October. Okay, let's talk about the caps a little bit. That's what I call them. They're like the thing that you're gonna make the wig on, right? So your wig cap or whatever. And I use these guys. This is what I use to make my caps. These are legs, control top pantyhose. I like the control top because there's this thing called denier. It's like the thickness, it's like the thread count of the pantyhose, and control top has a higher denier. Even better than that is support. But those are just impossible to find. They used to be readily available and they no longer are. So control top is what I use now. These actually have become a lot harder to find. This is like, this package used to be, or might still be, $7.97 at Walmart for 3 pairs, which makes them, you know, a little bit more than $2.50 each, which is pretty good. Yeah. But I can hardly ever find these anymore, and almost every other brand or package that I've tried is way higher price. These are the ones I like to use. But also they do sell wig caps on like Amazon. I'm sure they sell them on other places also, but and they're already made. They're thicker. And they're just, they're not as custom, they're not as stretchy, first of all. They're not as stretchy as these. And they're not quite as customizable when it comes to sizing. So they only work for me, usually for the smaller sizes. For the bigger sizes, I have to use these anyway. So I kind of like prefer these. So anyway, this is what I use. I'll show you the next step. We take them out of the box here. There's 3 in there, and we're just going to use the top part. So I just cut the legs off entirely. Here we go. So this is what you're left with, and then I turn it inside out, and I go seam to seam like this, so it's sideways like this. I try not to get the tag in the cap, so if I want to avoid that. So I'm going to keep that in mind while I'm sewing. And basically I'm just going to make like a shape like this. Basically. And I will make these in different sizes. So these are the queen. Sometimes for the bigger head sizes, I do use a 2X just to be more comfortable. But queen is usually good for most head sizes, and you can make them smaller too. So if I'm gonna make one for a smaller person, I will take my line, whoa, sorry, and I'll just bring it all the way to here or here, depending. You just kind of learn how much to use. And like I said, I'm sorry that I'm not like the best teacher. I'm just sharing with you guys exactly how I do it. And I'm sorry if I'm not explaining it well. Please feel free to ask questions in the comments. So let me show you what I do. I really am not a good sewer. I don't know how to use a sewing machine other than like making a straight line. So that is pretty much all I use this sewing machine for, is to make these caps, to make the line on the caps. And I don't know what any of these settings mean, but I'm happy to show them to you. This is what this thing is on. Okay. And this is what this thing is on. I don't know if any of that matters, but I try to keep it, you know, the same all the time. Let me set this back up. Okay, so because I'm trying not to get this tag in here, I'm going to start my thing like right here. So I just kind of put it at an angle to start it, because it really doesn't matter just exactly how good the curve is, because it just stretches so much that it doesn't really make a difference when you put it on the head. You'll see what I mean. So now I'm going to drop my foot. I do know that term. Where's the thing? There we go. I got it. I got it. Let me just say, those of you who know me know I am a gardener, and I was weeding for like 2 days. I scrubbed my hands, okay, to get them as clean as possible for this video, but the dirt is just, it's a part of me now. So anyway, so here we go. I'm just going to start it by going forward, then I'm gonna hit this thing which makes it go backward for a couple seconds. And then we'll go on. So let me just start it here. I have the little foot pedal. Okay, I'm gonna have my hand on here. Couple stitches. Now I'm gonna go backwards. Okay, and now I'm gonna start my line. So I'm just kind of making it in like a head shape, if that makes sense. I usually go a little bit faster than this, but it doesn't matter. And then when I come to the end, I'm going to do the same thing again about backtracking. So we have a stitch in place here. Just, there we go. That's better. Lift up my foot. I'm going to turn this thing so it's lifted. Then I can pull it out. Okay, and this is what you're left with. You see that shape? It's like a head shape. And now I'm just going to cut all the excess off. There. Now this one is a little bit shallow. So it's going to be for a smaller head. And if you want to make them bigger, you just go higher. They're really long. Like this part is really long, so you can just go higher. But it is really stretchy, so it's gonna fit probably up to like a 22 head size. And this is what it looks like. Just a cap like this. Now, you might think, this is too thin. Like, what a cheaply made piece of garbage. Right? And I kind of thought that too when I first started doing it. But after making, oh gosh, 1,000 plus wigs, this is just the best way. I just think these are the best. And because I use hot glue to attach the yarn, it adds a layer of thickness to the wig that makes it way more sturdy than you would imagine. So, like, if you check my Etsy reviews, everyone talks about what good quality the wigs are, and I'm super proud of that, even though I do use these kind of flimsy things to start with. Okay, the next thing we need to discuss is the heads and like the actual making of the wigs. So you need to have a head that is appropriately sized for whoever's going to be wearing the wig, right? So this is the head that is usually available to buy from like a craft store. They're like $7, $8 maybe at Michael's, but they're kind of small. The head circumference of this girl, I believe, is 19.5 inches, which is fine for kids and some small adults. But a lot of people have heads that are way bigger than that. I sell mine up to a size like 25 plus inches. So in order to make the head bigger, you have to kind of add layers to it. And the way that I usually do that is either the easiest way to do it, that I think is the easiest way that I think there is to do it, is to add a beanie cap. I might have one. So if you just add a beanie to it, this one's way too big, but it's fine. Each beanie usually adds like 1/2 inch to the circumference. So it takes a lot of layers, but I like using beanies. And the other thing that I'll use is just like felt. So just like this. And you just keep building it up. And as you're building it, measure it to see, you know, what you're getting. Once you put the next step on, which is going to be masking tape to keep everything in place, that will take the measurement down just a tiny bit, because it is going to be tight to the head. So you keep that in mind. But this is what I do. I just keep adding layers to make it bigger, and then we will tape them down. And while we're discussing this, let me also mention my stand here. This is just something that my husband made for me, because you need something to keep the head still. Yeah. These have a hole on the bottom, and they sell these wooden dowels. So all we did was make this board and screw in the dowel. And this one's actually a little bit too small. Usually I have to like put felt on here to make, because the hole's too big. But this one fits just pretty perfect. You want it to be nice and tight so it doesn't move around when you're working on it. Perfect. You can see that she has a little bit of a tilt to her, and that's on every single one. That's just how these heads are. I don't know why. They also make a man head. I don't usually use those. I just build onto these ones. So it's not the prettiest picture, obviously. And sometimes kind of feels like you're kidnapping someone. But it's all for the good. We go around. I just try to make it as tight, as secure as possible. And as, you know, normal head shaped as possible, if that makes sense. Like, keep it round, keep all the curves looking like a normal head. You could see before I had some extra pieces sticking out back here. I just trimmed those off. And the reason that I use masking tape for this is because when I make the wig, I use hot glue. And hot glue sticks to just about everything. But for some reason, it does not stick to masking tape. So once it's cooled down, once the hot glue is cooled down, you can just pull the wig off of the head. Okay, we're just about to get started. And as far as glue guns go, I like to use the mini ones. They're just more comfortable for my hands. They come in low temp or high temp. I prefer the high temp just because I work kind of fast, but low temp is fine too. Either one. Sometimes the high temp can actually get a little bit too hot if you're not working fast enough, if that makes sense. So the first thing we're gonna do is just pull our first couple pieces of yarn, and then I will show you how to attach it. Okay, so this is about how much I use for each step. Now, I've got it folded over my finger right in half, if you can see. So, I mean, it's not exactly, but it's close enough, right? So I like to do this. I take my strands, I straighten them out so they're all nice and straight. Let me see this, yes. And then I fold it over. So now I have this shape, and then I'm just gonna like pinch it with this hand. See how nice and straight it is still? I don't really have to worry about down lower, just the part that I'm working with. And then because I am a righty, I'm gonna pinch it again with this hand, and I'm gonna leave about, you know, an inch or so at the top because that's the part that I'm gonna glue first. But you have a nice straight line here. That's what we're going for, a nice straight line. Nice straight yarn. So here's my head. I'm gonna turn it. I'm gonna make my first line right about here. And I like to start just a little bit indented. So this is where it's gonna go. Okay. And all I'm gonna do is take my glue gun and make a line about as wide as that, or as long as that, is that you want to say it. Okay, so it's on there. You got to work fast. Now I use my scissors to push it on. Hold it for a couple seconds. Now it's on there. You don't want to pull on it, but it's pretty secure. I'll give it a minute, not even a minute, a couple seconds really. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit more glue. And I usually go in like a zigzag, just because I'm kind of trying to flood this space with glue. Kind of think of it like icing a cookie, you know? You're kind of flooding it with glue. So now we have our first little section. You're gonna do this all the way around. Okay, so hi, editing Laura here. I realized I was missing like an entire clip and a very important one. So let's imagine we've just finished the first. So the next step is just going to be to do another layer. And usually I start right about here for the second layer. Now you can add as many layers as you want. It's completely up to you. But I will just say yarn can be heavy. So the more layers that you add, the heavier the wig is going to be. Normally I use the bottom layer, I put a middle layer, and then I will show you how to do the top layer with the middle part in just a few minutes. But you could always add more layers if you wanted. But basically we're just going to repeat this process, another layer straight across here. Okay, so now we have our 2 layers. I did just want to say I kind of put the first layer a little bit high on the original wig that I was showing you. I don't know why, I just wanted to mention that. So now 1 layer here, 2nd layer here, they're like a couple inches apart, yeah? So now we're gonna do the top part, the middle layer here. And this is gonna be a middle part. I do make some that have like a side part, but for this video, we're just doing the regular middle part. And we're gonna basically do the same thing with this chunk of yarn, except this time we're not gonna fold it in half. We're gonna keep it straight across. So I'm gonna put a glue line, and then we're just gonna press it down. Okay, I usually stop right about there, and then we're gonna go back to the front and start gluing it down. So I'm gonna take a section. Usually, most of the time I work with sections that are about this wide, yeah? Just how I like to do it. And all I'm gonna do is glue this from here all the way down to here. And you don't want the glue, hot glue dries quickly, so you kind of have to do it in parts. I'll show you what I mean. And you gotta be careful at the front because you don't want leakage. You really don't have to press that hard because it just bonds really well. Do you get those little glue strings? I usually just deal with all those at the end. And a little bit of seepage is okay because it's gonna get covered up again. But for the most part, I try not to get too much glue coming through. And now I'm just going to continue this all the way back. When you get to the back section here, it can get a little bit more tricky because you kind of have to twist a little bit. And it just takes a little bit of maneuvering. And then I like to kind of pin it so it stays where where I want it, if that's making sense. I'm like pinning it with one finger. I'm just real particular about how I do my wigs, and I like all of the pieces to be perfectly straight. Some people might not want to do it that way, and that is totally fine too. When I do like my curly wigs, I have to do way more layers, and it's kind of impossible to keep those straight, so that one's a little bit different. Okay, now we're going to go back to the front. and we're going to fold this part over. It's nice and cooled down now, and the wig holds in place until you really pull it off of the head. So it will, the glue is holding it in place, making it nice and taut to work with. And the way I do this second layer is I like to glue like a triangle shape, like this back here. So it's kind of a natural shift from being more tacked down to less. And I do that with my Sally wigs also, but for this wig in particular, I add a few braids to it, so I need the front to be tacked down to about here. So let's start with that. So this first section, and I try not to get too close to the edge, because like I say, you don't want seepage. And this one, you really don't want glue showing through. So you have to have a real careful touch. That's looking good. Now for the next one, I'm just gonna do it a little bit higher. So, because this one is here, I'm gonna put it like about here. Sorry about that. It's hard to work with the camera right here. I'm like standing up. Normally I sit for this. And the same thing going down the line here. And for this one, I'll go like this. And eventually it's just gonna be folded over and kind of tacked down for like the next section and the rest of it until we get to the very back. So for this part, I'm just gonna probably, I'm not good with measurements, but probably like 1/2 inch. So like when I'm doing my pigtail wigs and I do the fold over, I just glue the whole thing like 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. It just gives you a more defined part in the middle. I'm gonna stop there because when you get to the back section, it can get a little bit trickier. So I'm just gonna stop there and we'll move to the other side of the wig. And then once we get here, we'll talk again. Okay, so that's tacked down. Now I'm just gonna add a little bit more right on top of this. Okay, so right there. There we go. And now for this last part, I actually kind of go backwards. Instead of starting here, I like to fill this part in first. So I'll see like how many it will take to fill that in. Looks like about this much. About yay much. To keep working it until it's in the right position. Then I'm pinning it down. All right, sorry about that. I got interrupted. Let's fill this area with glue. La-di-da-di-da. There we go. So now the whole wig has yarn on it. Yeah, except for the very bottom. Now these pieces, I just tacked down, like I said before, just like ½ an inch or so. And this is kind of where the artistic freedom comes in, because you could double it over and do more of the part there, finish that part, or you could just tack it down and leave it like this. Kind of depends on how you're feeling, and also how much yarn the wig can really take, because the more layers you add, the weirder it kind of looks. It's like a lump, yeah. But I think I will go ahead and fold it over. And I'm just gonna have it kind of shift a little bit more towards the back. If that makes sense. Well, you guys can't even see what I'm doing. Sorry. All right, and then I'll just put another one on this side too. Then we'll be almost done. That would be pretty much the stopping point for like a Sally wig. But for the Te Fiti wig, like I said, I do add a couple of little braids to it. So I'll just show you guys how I do that. You could add more back here, but once you take this off of the head, the yarn really shifts a lot and kind of lays into place. So you're really not gonna, you really don't need any more. But you could add a little bit more right here if you wanted to. So here's how it looks from the front. Sometimes I do get like really, nitpicky about the particular highlights and stuff and try to line those up. But, most people really do not care about that. All right, so I'm pressing pretty hard here. From here, I'm gonna braid this whole thing all the way down to the end on both sides. And the last step is just to tack these down, and I just tack them down to right here where the first layer stops. And just one line. And this one, I usually just put a little dot here. And it's like free and easy. And then I'll put this up on my little guy, and I'll show you how to take it off the head. So this is just like a little coat rack that I kind of disassembled. So you really, once you put it up here, it's gonna be all tangled, so you have to kind of untangle it. That's the first thing. And then I usually trim it, and then we will take it off. And I'm not taking much, I'm just trimming it just to be even, right? So still really long. Can you see that? Ooh, I don't want to put it too high. All right, now we're gonna take it off the head. Now, because this is a freshly taped head, it won't be as hard. I do like to re-tape them probably like every 10 wigs or so. They get too sticky that it's harder to pull the wig off. So basically I'm just gonna hold on to the head. I'm gonna make sure this is a good frame here. I'm holding on to the head and I'm just gonna pull back. And if there's any problem, I'm gonna stop. You see how easily it's coming off though? When it's a freshly taped head, it just comes off nice and easy. Look at that. That's beautiful. So this is what the inside looks like now. It has like another layer. It feels not hard, but how can I like describe it? Not rubbery, but like when you put it on your head, it will grip. You know what I mean? Because it has the glue sort of comes through, but just a little bit. It's just the perfect amount. It's just a wonderful thing. So you have your wig. This part is nice and stretchy. I'll just show you how to put it on. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to put the wig on. I am using a different wig. I'm using a Coraline wig this time because two reasons. One is because I want to use this video for my Etsy to also show people how to put the wig on. And a lot of the time I notice when I make the Coraline wig, which has a side part right here, that people will put it on like it's a middle part, and that's not right. The inside of the wig right here, this is the middle part of the wig. So that's the front center of the wig. So this is the Coraline wig in a size for me. And I'm gonna show you how to put it on. So basically you take the part that's in the back, the loose part. There should be almost on every wig a little bit of a loose part in the back. There are some exceptions. There's a couple that are fully glued down. But either way, there's something to grab onto. So you grab that back part and you put your head in. Yeah, just like that. Super easy. Now, this is where you have to do the adjusting. Typically, for people that have more hair than me, you would put like a ponytail or a braid on the back of your head so that your hair isn't sticking out, and also to keep it as flat as possible in the back. Does that make sense? So there we go. I didn't tuck in all my hair because we don't need to be doing that right now, but this is it. Look, I'm Coraline. Anyway, love this wig. This is such a fun wig to make. Hope you guys liked it. And that's how you make a freaking yarn wig on a piece of pantyhose. Okay, that's what I've come up with for my process. I've shared it with you. Go ahead and judge me or ask me many questions. If I do get a lot of questions, I will certainly do a Q&A. I'm sorry that it took me so long to put this video out. I think I mentioned in my last video, I am having some issues with my health and I'm just like super tired. So bear with me while we get through this. It's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. So thank you guys for joining me. And now we'll get back to like some normal, maybe Halloween content. I have been doing a little bit of decorating. Actually, maybe I'll put a little clip at the end here of how we decorated the back gate entrance thing for Halloween, because it did come out pretty cool. So I'll show you guys that on the way out. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye.